No, I just want to make Jeremy big.
But you're gonna mess it up.
No, I'm not. Oh, now that's better.
I wonder if you can tell me what seems to be the trouble today.
You're beautiful. You're better than your picture. You really are.
Whoa.
Pictures end up everywhere. I'm not doing that, so don't ask.
I'm just saying, other guys got girls that are sending, but I'm not asking.
That's good because you ain't getting.
Just slow down, okay? Mom, I'm in a flow state, Mom. I'm vibing and thoughts are tumbling and it's just lightning in a bottle. You want to catch this, don't you? Don't you?
You're not a therapist, right? I mean, you're not trained to take a child apart.
I'm not taking your kid or anybody's kid apart.
I don't need another cop. I need my dad to trust me.
I wanted to tell you that I love you. That I love you.
What?
I wanted to tell you that I love you, Mama.
I heard you the first time. I wanted to hear it again.
I can save democracy later.
Oh, please, you are not saving democracy.
What did you just call me?
Hi, Peter.
Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Well, how are you doing?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, great. Hi, here comes John. I'm sure Alison will be here in a second.
Great.
Hello.
Good morning.
Johnny G.
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
Okay.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. How's it going?
Good, good.
Where are you, Adam?
I'm in the New York's Hudson Valley, not too far from Josh and Allison, who I know sort of casually.
Oh, wow.
Funny.
I've known Josh for quite a few years. We've did a Q&A many years ago, and since then I run into him all the time. And he's done the show several times over the years too. And actually, Josh, I met you. I think I may have met you very, very briefly at I think it was at the Metrograph. Is that possible?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm there pretty often. I live in Brooklyn, so I go over there all the time.
Right. Yeah, it was some sort of thing going on there, maybe very early on, I think.
Yeah, I think I went to their first holiday party or something. I seem to remember a reception.
Yeah, upstairs, right? Or yeah, that was it. Thanks for now. We can end this, and I met Peter now, so I feel
we've closed the loop.
But if you're doing a podcast for 12 years on kind of the indie film world or the art film world, you're going to meet a lot of this people in your film theater, for instance.
Right. I mean, you're going to come across everybody, aren't you?
Yeah, just about.
Here she said she'll be right here.
Perfect.
Interestingly, this is just a little side note for both of you. We're about to screen at the Hamptons Film Festival today. So I met Corey Michael Smith last night for the first time in person.
Oh my gosh.
Because he's here with another film called Call Jane. And so he'll be there in support of The Same Storm. And Raul Castillo and fiance are staying in our house right now. So that is awesome. So
well, tell him also, I know Raul from very early on in his career, and so say hello from Adam. I think he should know who I am.
Oh, he'll remember.
Yeah,
he remembers.
He's a sweetheart. Yeah, what a great group of people. A lot of really good people in your film. I mean, not only as actors.
I know. I mean, if they weren't so talented, I would just talk about how nice they are. But then they're just, it's really amazing to get to work with such talented people who are also so decent.
Right.
It's not always the case. So, but this was kind of a self-selecting project anyway, because, you know, nice people aren't going to sign up to do this one. They're just not going to. I mean, I
want you to play a Trumpster in this one, but you know.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, because these are the least. I got the sort of the segment with with some of the least, you know, likable. I mean, you know, it's characters. Happy to do it though. Happy. It's good. It makes for potentially more interesting conversation. You know.
Well,
talk about that.
Yeah, sure. She says she's almost here.
Oh, no problem. Daphne Ruben-Vega also on this. I don't mean to name drop, although I guess I do. Please. But these are the people that have been on, just so you know, like over the years. I've been doing it for so long. Josh definitely like at least three times.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he's great.
But I've been John. I really have been wanting you on for a long time.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to make that happen, but you know, it's just sometimes it just takes a while.
Yeah. Well, this is a great way for me to finally make an appearance.
Good.
With that, right. I wouldn't would not know the world of indie film without my intro through Peter's work.
It's crazy. You were
first independent film, first indie film I ever made.
Right. Oh, really?
Yeah. I was
Pieces
a
of
teenager living
Pieces of April. Yeah, that's a great.
Delaware.
That's a great.
Yeah, and Alison and John were together, of course, in that. So that's
we
why I chose them. Because you gave such free range, you know, just two actors, and I was like, who would it be really fun to put together in a space? Because we have such a long history.
Yeah,
and
this was our second time playing brother and sister for you.
Yes.
Wow.
Of course there she is. Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
You know those times when you can't find your computer and then you're like, okay, I found my computer, and then I can't find my plug? It was like that.
No problem. It's nice to see you again.
Oh.
And Alison, you and I was at one of the Woodstock Film Festival at the drive-in. Remember that for
yes,
Josh and Jesse's yeah. So I met you very briefly. It was like a busy night, and although it was my first, I had just moved up to the general area, so it was like I was really happy to be out with people, even at a drive-in, because they weren't doing indoor screenings back then.
it was an exciting time. It was one of the first times we had seen or been around people outside of our immediate family for quite some time.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody for making this happen and aligning your schedules. It's really, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Have a good day. I'll speak to you soon.
Bye. Nice to meet you.
It's kind of
thank you.
It's kind of fitting that now it's nice. It works well with, I mean, the film, since it's all shot over Zoom or whatever. What did you use, Peter? What do they use in the case? Because you have to have
we worked with this brilliant company called Straight Up Technologies, who had advanced. Can I just ask something before I try that, Ann? Can you hear the noise outside in my house? Do I need to quiet down my wife and Raul Castillo and his fiance?
No,
because I will.
No, and unless it's
I'll tell them to be quiet. Okay.
No, it's fine. No, unless it gets you can always mute when you're not talking.
Take two. Take two.
You way overestimate the my podcast as far as being very, I don't know, very cautious about that kind of thing. Unless it's like a distracting level, I don't really worry about too much about peripheral noise leaking in, because it's a variable. I did it in New York City for years, so it was impossible.
Good to know. It's a little distracting for me, but they're having fun. So in answer to the question, how do we shoot this film? I had heard about a production of the finale of the CBS procedural All Rise, where in the kind of early days of the pandemic, they found a way to film the finale with the actors working from home. And it was like, how did they do that? that led me down a path to this company called Straight Up Technologies, which really pioneered the technology that made this possible, or certainly made it available. And so I reached out to them and said, I'm writing this script, and I want to find a way for actors to be able to interact in real time, because the films I was hearing about that were getting made were sending cameras to people, and actors were filming themselves, and then that footage was being brought together. But that would be like having John act without Alison, and Alison act without John, and that just didn't. What I wanted was to see, was there some way that actors could actually be play off each other and play in the moment and play with abandon. So that was, so it wasn't on Zoom, but it appears to have been on Zoom, because that was one of the ways we were all connected during certainly the peak pandemic, and even now. So.
Exactly, and it's not just a way of shooting the film, but it is an accurate portrayal of how people were connecting during that time. So it's actually very fitting. And any skepticism of would this work kind of went away pretty early in the film. You know, when I was watching with my girlfriend, we were just like, all of a sudden, oh, this is really good. You got some great actors.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Before I asked actors like Alison and John to do this film, I did a test with some young actors, and we did 2 improvs on using this technology, and I was stunned at how exciting it was. And part of what I was chasing was this reading I'd seen of MCC Theater, a theater that is real dear to me. I've worked with for over almost 30 years. Did a reading at the end of April, early in the lockdown, and that reading featured Marissa Tomei and Oscar Isaac, and they were reading on Zoom, and it was so intimate. I mean, they just put their faces right up to the camera, and it was the first kind of act that gave some sense of hope, at least in my experience, like, oh, we're going to find a way to go on. We are going to find a way to, transcend this moment and persist. And but that intimacy felt so exciting. That's what got me writing. And then all I did was try to put things on the page which would earn me the privilege of getting to work with people like John and Alison and the others. It's particularly meaningful for me, cue tears, that I got to work with Alison and John again together, because we made Pieces of April, which, along with The Same Storm, are my 2 favorite experiences of my career. And interestingly, they happen to both be in both of them. So I guess and they're the only people who actually are in both of them. So I guess that's why we're here today. So I can just publicly state everything's better when I'm in the room with them. Sorry.
No, thank
you. How dare you, Peter? It's totally you better be sorry.
Totally inappropriate to get emotional. Well, guys, maybe talk a little bit also, because I mean, I guess you've had I'm guessing some opportunities now to do more things acting wise on your computer. But how is that something you've actually gotten used to, or how do you, and then talk a little bit about how have you developed a technique for doing that, or if there isn't even one? John, can you go first, and Alison, you can also talk about it.
I was just kidding, by the way, Peter. Thank you. That's so lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I adore you. Always have, always will, and you as well, Alison. So cool to work together again, even under such kind of bizarro circumstances as when we first started making this 2 years ago, I guess it was now on Zoom, which is wild to think. I think just modern life adjusting to this type of interaction was something that I had kind of started getting used to a little bit before the pandemic. I had some done some readings and such over Zoom, but it seemed like a one-off. It didn't seem like it was something that I was going to ever have to adjust to as much as I did in 2020. I mean, it's not all that different from doing it in person, aside from just having to navigate the weirdness of sitting alone, and it's oddly like I find it like weirdly like more vulnerable in a sense, because I'm kind of in my space and very aware of how isolated I am, and it's harder sometimes to know how things are landing or gauge your own levels in a weird way.
Like emotional levels, right?
Yeah, kind of knowing if did that work, did that land? You get there's just you get very used to your environment if you're doing a play, or your environment if you're on an actual film set. But when you're sitting alone at home and not really entirely sure how the technology is picking up what you're putting out. But this experience was, I don't know, it just felt really organic. I think because we were really, really lucky. We had this amazing scene that Peter had written that was like this great one-act play that was so emotionally involved. And it was one of those things that I remember when I got the script and I started imagining making it, via computer link up. I thought this is going to be really difficult, or those would be really hard to do. But my memory of the day that we shot it is one of like surprising ease. Once we started doing it, it felt a little bit like I blinked and then we had it. And I remember being really surprised when Peter was like, "Okay, I think we got it. We're all set." I was like, "Wait, we did it all? That's going to be it?" But lo and behold, it was. But I don't know. It was. I think it was fun. I think I was just so thirsty to connect with people at that time after months of feeling alone. And then not only that, but to connect with my friends, with people that I love and trust and admire and respect. And then through the material, I thought Peter did such an exceptional job of taking this kind of national temperature and rendering all of these thoughts and feelings that weren't strange to us. It was thematically, he really plumbed the depths of what I feel like we had all been experiencing in the height of the pandemic in 2020. And so it was cathartic to help give voice to that.
And Alison, what was your experience like? And also, did they, just as a real side question, did you just use your computers, or did they send you special tech equipment in order to, I don't know.
It was just our computers. It was our computers. Peter's smiling because I suffered through some technical difficulties because I was in the woods, and I might have been at certain breaking points at times during this. Just like, I just want like all of those feelings of, can we just be somewhere where Henry Chirpa, sorry, my dog is coming in.
We'll have a lot of dogs on the show, trust me. A lot of dogs. They are always welcome. Trying to hardwire into our router thing, trying to keep our daughter occupied outside of the room, where there's one door, anyway, there was a lot of organizing to be done, and a lot of, in this scene with Rosemary, to try and change the background it was somewhat, I wasn't in the best headspace. I should mention you're in actually two segments. You're in one with Rosemary DeWitt and Ron Livingston, and then you're also in one with John and Josh, your husband, and some actress I've seen around. I don't know.
Yeah, she's all right. Judith Light, she's new around town. She's awfully good, I guess.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever.
She's a marvel. She's a marvel and the kindest person ever. And to watch her, I mean, she's truly like not of this earth. And we'd known each other sort of in passing, but this was the first time that I had gotten to work with her. And she's a true joy. Yeah, just remarkable actor. Yeah, so there were definitely technical difficulties. There were definitely all the work from home difficulties of child pet interruptions. I remember at one point, like a hummingbird got stuck in our living, like there was just like a whole, just one of those times. Like,
if I had a nickel every time.
Like a random,
for every
like
hummingbird.
hearing all this noise outside of going like, what the heck is going on? Like, trying to save this hummingbird. Anyway, there was a lot. It was a lot. I was just like, I just want to be on set and able to be around these people and ask these questions and not be like, Rosemary froze. John's face is frozen. Why is John's face frozen? You know, and at the same time, it was remarkable to be able to do it, and very much the sort of food for the soul that I was in need of at that time, of feeling deeply lonesome, deeply pointless as a human, in many ways. And as I think so many of us sort of struggled through, of like, oh boy, this is going to get existential real darn quick. And so to have some place to put that, and to put all of the emotion of those months building up to this, it was like a lifeline in a lot of ways.
Well, I don't know. It really works. It just, I mean, I can't really say why another project which would attempt such a technical feat doesn't work and why another one works. There's probably a number of explanations, but this one really does. And it's called The Same Storm, and it's opening, just, I should have said this at the beginning, but it's opening on October 14th, right? In theaters. So, and you're doing it at festival. Which, it was at Telluride? Is that where it premiered?
We started at Telluride last September, and then we opened the Austin Film Festival last October and closed the Philadelphia Film Festival. But now we're at the Hamptons Film Festival today.
Great festival.
And then we will be opening New York at Quad Cinema, and in Santa Monica at the Lemley
Monica,
right?
the Lemley Monica Center. Yes.
On the 14th of October.
And you guys, so how many, John and Alison, how many times now you did Newsroom too? Did we mention that? That was a big deal.
No, this is just the third time that we've worked together.
What's up with that?
On camera, we've done play readings together through the years, and have run into
We've
each
done
other
some
regularly.
wild play readings, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We did some strange ones.
Yeah.
Including one that I wrote. Do you remember when you came to Pasadena? And
oh my gosh, yeah.
we did that. And Josh was there too.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We've known each other. I mean, it's wild that we've known each other for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were 16 and 17 when we shot Pieces of April.
I stayed in Alison's home in Toronto when we went to the Toronto Film Festival in 2003, and I slept in your basement.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a very exciting time.
Yeah.
I was revisiting the first day I ever got to direct was we shot all the moving car scenes in Pieces of April in one day. It was insane. And there are 5 of them.
Yeah.
Four of them. And of course, John and Alison are next to each other for most of those scenes. And then Alison at one point moves up to the front. And they're just, the performances are all exquisite, but I so marvel that at 16 and 17, I mean, they're not even legal adults, and they're playing with Alice Drummond and Patty Clarkson and Oliver Platt and just bringing it. And I remember Mark Levolsi, the great editor who cut Pieces of April, saying, I said, well, what do you think? He said, those kids, I can't find a false moment. There's not a false moment. And that's really, for an editor to say that, you know, who scours the material in ways that, even though I watch every take over and over myself, but he was like, there's not a false moment. And they're just, I'm still looking, I'm still trying to find one all these years later. And I'm, you know, even though we didn't work together for 20 years, I've been just a rabid and massive fan of both of them. Although Alison and I got to do, it wasn't really a part for John and Dan in real life. Sadly, I should have fixed that, but Alison and I got to do another movie together. And it's just really one of the great joys of, one of the few arguments for growing older is that you get to work with people early in their careers, and then you get to sit back and watch them become not only consummate artists, but exquisite human beings. And that's what's happened.
This is
anyway, it was fun to have been there at the beginning, their beginnings, and
I also
revisit. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it's very funny because we were somewhat on the cutting edge of a lot of digital technology on Pieces of April. I mean, we could not shoot if there was full sun. Like it would just be blown out. So waiting for a cloudy day and all of those car scenes was just like, all right, not only are there 4 car scenes with no obviously process trailer, like, oh no, we had the process trailer for a day. Yes. Or like,
but it was so jiggly.
Yeah, it wasn't,
we had to do extra takes.
Yeah, it wasn't the most effective. But it was also just, you know, like uncovering the limitations of this technology. And for myself, like I'd done one other film on digital, but it was just so wild to just be like, oh yeah, we can just keep rolling forever. It's right. 0 to 1. It's like we can just do a 19-minute take and you know, if that's what we want to do, and just keep rolling. And I think many people have come into the industry obviously since that point and have no recollection of what working on film was like. And so I feel like in both of these cases, we're just sort of like, let's experiment with it. Let's see what works. Let's see what doesn't. Let's see the limitations, because we know this will, I can imagine this being useful in the future. Like this does feel like something that will be morphing into a greater part of our lives. So it's just interesting that we have both of these like very technical kind of experiments under our belt.
Right, it was kind of a big experiment. It felt that way. I mean, there were certainly, Dogma had made their films and Indigent had made a few other films before we made Pieces of April, but I mean, even on that first day, those 4 scenes, we shot all 4 scenes in one direction, and then because we couldn't move the cameras, and then we flipped the camera and shot those scenes, you know, a few hours later from the other direction, and then we flipped the camera and shot the scenes from the front. I mean, it was insane. I mean, we did, I think, 11 pages on our first day together, and with no rehearsal. I mean, it was just, and they're honestly, I mean, 5 films that I've directed, they may be some of my most favorite scenes ever that I've ever been a part of. And it's all about the people. It's all about the actors. And you put beautiful actors in a space and give them, you know, try to give them words that are worthy of them, and then let them go, and magic happens. And that's what happened then. And it's certainly what happened in the same storm on that day. The scene that we're referring to, Adam, was interesting in that most scenes in the film had a day to shoot. You know, this was the longest scene. It was a 17-page scene, and we many of the scenes we didn't even get to rehearse. We just, you know, we couldn't get people together, but we shot this later in the shoot and realized, you know, rehearsals were really helpful, and this was a complicated scene. It had 5 people in it. And the night before we were going to shoot it, true story, we were reading it, and I'm listening to the scene, and none of the producers at the rehearsal were rehearsing, you know, through the straight up technology. And I'm start texting the producer saying, you need to get on to rehearsal. You need to join. And they're like, why? He said, join. And I realized that the scene that I'd written wasn't worthy of the actors who were about to perform the scene.
Wow.
And we were supposed to shoot the next day. And I've had this happen on every film. There's usually a scene where you just go like, I don't know what I'm doing, what we're doing. But you figure it out. You know, you gather and kind of figure it out. The problems in this scene were so massive, and I froze. I was paralyzed. And I just thought, you know, here are these actors so generously offering to do this film. Is this a whole thing of fool's errand anyway? And it doesn't work. And I didn't have a solution. And I mean, Josh was at that point was coming up with all these great ideas about what we could do with the scene, you know, and it's like, oh, that's right. But ultimately at one point Judith said, well, what if we film it another day? Because I finally admitted, I said, guys, it's not you. You're great. The scene isn't up to what you're able to do. And Judith was like, well, what if we shoot it another day? And like that wasn't an option in my head. I just didn't know the problem.
I get that.
She and people were like, well, I'd come back. And John Gallagher Jr. was like, well, I'm on a vacation for a week, but then I'd come back, and it was, and so but everybody
we see his priorities are really
but believe me, I needed that week. That week was a gift because it wasn't going to be ready in 2 days. But we used the next day to rehearse, so everybody came to rehearsal. And then, you know, like 10 days later, when John was back from this rehearsal, I'd rewritten the scene. The scene improved massively because of the rehearsal, because of the faith, and because of the willingness of the actors to, you know, and it may seem like, well, of course that's what you do, but no, I mean, any one of them could have said, you know what, you know, flipped me off and said, fuck it, I'm out.
We were very, very busy at that time. We were all there was a lot of schedules that needed to be, I was like, what am I? No. Wednesday is watching the birds day. I can't.
Yeah, right.
I'm unable to make it.
The hummingbird.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. This is bread time, Peter. Don't you know? Thursday is when I perfect my sourdough.
Every film has a moment on it that I've been a part of where you go like, oh, that's why you make a movie. And that one was one of them in this film for me. That's like, oh, I want to keep doing this because it was so generous and the results are so spectacular. I can't wait. Neither of them have seen the film yet with an audience. And the scene really, the film is really plays. So it's a live, when it's live and you hear the laughter and the gasping and it's really, I don't want to oversell it because they may see it like it's completely dead silent, but I've seen it now enough times that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the actors to experience it with an audience. Because like John said, you made it and like the day would end and you would just shut your computer and go like, what did we just do? It was so odd. And that camaraderie that you get on an actual set, which is a lot of the reason why we go through the drudgery and the pain of making these things is for the community. You know, we were deprived that. So anyway, I can't wait for them to see it with an audience because they're funny. They're very funny.
Well, I know we have to wind it down and start our days, as it were. But John, did you real quick, or did you have any last thoughts about shooting that scene and what you needed to kind of prepare in order to play that type of character, or you know, or you can talk about your vacation. I was just either one.
I know.
You're probably thinking about, man, the moment I'm out of here, man, I got to get buy no sandals. I don't know.
I know. I would have never thought that a quick jaunt to the Jersey Shore would become such a historical sticking point. Yeah, it's so funny because, and this is I was thinking about it because it was 2 years ago now that we shot this scene, and it feels longer than that, just in the way time has, whatever has happened to time in the last few years.
What happened to
it was
time?
really landing on me as I was talking to Peter on the phone the other day. I was like, oh my God, it was 2 years ago that we sat down and we made this thing. And that was the first time that I had, said lines in many, many months, and worked with other actors in many, many months since everything came to a grinding halt. And then also whatever that has befallen my memory in recent years as well, which is also troublesome. I had this lapse where I had somehow edited out that difficulty of hitting that speed bump with the scene and needing to reschedule it and Peter go and rewrite it. Like that had somehow shaken out of the narrative for me. I was like, yeah, I remember we did the scene and it came together and it was really easy and we filmed it. And then they sent me a recording device for the audio. And then I think it got lost in the mail. And I was really scared that I was, once again, the vacation had happened. And then I was worried that my recording device was never going to make it back to the to the company that was putting it all together. We were going to have to refilm it again because of me. And then it kind of all came together. And I think I had somehow, I think I had distilled it down to something that went off without a hitch. And of course, that wasn't the case. I'm suddenly it's coming back to me like, oh right, yeah, we did the read through, and then Peter needed more time, and I don't know. It kind of is like this kind of perfect kind of distillation of what it can be like to make one of these films of happy accidents, aiding the storytelling and assisting the way that you film it. I remember I told my mother about it, and I was like, Mom, you're never going to believe this. I'm working with Alison and Peter Hedges again. We're making this movie on Zoom using kind of Zoom-like technology. And she asked me a little bit about the scene, and I was like, well, I'm playing like a pretty fervent Trump supporter. And she was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think maybe you shouldn't do it. She was very concerned. I think I'd played a serial killer once and she loved it, but she was not down with, she drew the line.
Makes sense.
A Trump supporter. But then, when I read the scene and I started, as he always does, Peter had imbued it with such nuance and humanity. And I think just the other day, I was reading this article about how this QAnon conspiracy has torn not just one, but many families apart, as just drawn a line through bloodlines of people connected by families, just being torn apart by buying into reprehensible and destructive ideology, and so it's pretty legitimate to imagine many families trying to come together that are already disconnected physically, sitting down at their computers, trying to have a good moment together, and completely unable to because of the state of the world and the state of belief structures. And I just thought it was so interesting and sad and compelling the way that Peter had taken that and kind of fused it together into this scene. So I quickly, was able to assuage my mother's fears. And I said, no, it's a really interesting scene. It'll be worth it to try to get inside a headspace that that I don't necessarily subscribe to. And that's one of the great challenges and joys of acting, is that you're not always doing and saying things that you 100% get behind or believe in, and that's what keeps it interesting. And then when I looked at the brother, and I thought, oh, Josh and I are going to be playing kind of the real troublemakers, and then I started thinking of how fun that would be to play that part with him. I mean, this isn't a very succinct answer, but it's all kind of starting to come back, flooding back to me as we're getting more into it here.
Right.
But I just thought it was a great opportunity, and also just knowing that, you know, we'll have this as a time capsule. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years. Will this be shirked and we'll go back to just making movies the way we used to? Will this become more the norm, as Alison just suggested? But to have this moment, I think, for posterity, because the film also isn't just a film that we shot on Zoom. It's a film that we shot on Zoom that is about that exact moment that we were all living through. And I think that that's why it's going to be such an important and vital thing to have for years, to look back on this and go, wow, that's where we were in the summer of 2020.
Thank you. Again, it's called The Same Storm, and it's directed and written by Peter Hedges. And I don't know, among its many cast members, Alison Pill and John Gallagher Jr. I mean, I can name some of the others, but it's just ridiculous. So, but we talked about a few of them. Josh Leonard's in it, and Raul Castillo, and Judith Light, and the other older woman. That's a separate podcast that Peter and I can do. How you got Elaine May on board is just. I didn't even try to ask, because I mean, like, I would just get up on there and just be. If this could even happen, I would have just been. I saw New Leaf 10 times last year, just alone. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, that would have been.
That's really why I did the film, was to get a 6th degree, credit where I could be linked. I didn't get to meet her, but I'll forever get to be linked.
Yeah, I do want to hear about that some other time, Peter. So I might chase after you just for that little tidbit. But you guys, thank you so much. I know it probably was not the easiest thing to squeeze in this, so thank you. And although I know you adore your leader here, so I imagine it was a great opportunity for you. So I'm glad I was able to help bring a reunion about. That's nice, actually. And I hope it brings us back together at some point in the future too. That'd be nice. So thank you, and goodbye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, John.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too. Bye. Love y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Take care.
Thank you.